I've never worked at a company that's transparent with their salaries, exposing them to the public eye and their employees. Buffer, Whole Foods, and SumAll are a few of these companies that do this, and I always wonder if it's a good thing or a bad thing, having never worked at a company like that before. But I also couldn't help but cringe at the thought of one of the companies I worked for doing this. See, I discovered something by accident when I worked there a while ago, and I wasn't supposed to see it. A couple years leading up to that, I just moved to the Washington, D.C. area, and I've been programming for a while, but this was the first time I had an official job. And I was coming from an area where the income levels were much lower, so I was kind of thrilled about the fact, that I was getting paid more. Little did I know that it wasn't as much as I thought it was initially for this area. Time went on and I kept getting raises, which was great, but it wasn't until a few years later that I started to realize that many of my coworkers were making more than I was, and sometimes significantly more. There's always this taboo about discussing salaries, so I didn't feel comfortable asking anyone about it. For a time, I was just kind of happy living in an area of more opportunity and to be doing something that I really loved doing. Eventually, after I was making about 30% more than what I started with, management told me that there was no more room for raises in my current role.
Please, sir, I want some more.
What? So I started looking around for something else, and pretty quickly I found another gig. This was a more of a security-focused role at another company, which I was excited about because I love learning new things. And also, when I told them my salary requirements, I made sure to ask for a lot more than what I've been making before. And guess what? They gave it to me without even batting an eye, which was awesome. But also at the same time, when I look back at it, it was a little too easy. So I probably could have asked for even more. Still, I was satisfied with my new salary and my new work, and I didn't think too much of it at the time until one day when I stumbled upon a not so secure document that I wasn't supposed to have access to. Not my fault. Someone accidentally gave me permissions that I shouldn't have had. It was my fault for looking though. I ended up finding a folder that contained everyone's salaries in the company, and I know the irony of this happening at a security company, not lost on me at all. I couldn't resist the temptation. I looked inside, and there it was in black and white, or whatever the Microsoft Office theme color was that I was using at the time. The salaries of every single person in the company were there. From the highest paid director to the lowest paid employees like myself and the peeps sitting in the cubicles next to me. And my salary in the doc was exactly what I was making, so I knew this was the real deal. Then I saw the salaries of my peers. A few were higher and a few were lower, but there was one, and I felt really guilty about seeing that salary because, well, this was the guy. This is what my work buddy. We had lunches together. We joked about seeing inappropriate traffic, not suitable for work, and company computers, not ours, but we could see other people's traffic. And we were supposed to be doing the same work, but his salary was half of what I was making. So at that time, I felt kind of guilty about not sharing the salary with him, but it would have been kind of awkward if I did at the time. And looking back at it, I'm glad I didn't. But I hope that this video is going to absolve me from that guilt. Because I'm gonna help all of you out, hopefully. I'm gonna show you some salaries, but first I want to tell you a little story, and this is an extreme story, but it's relevant. There's this famous story about Jerry Seinfeld, the comedian. He had this little show called Seinfeld. In the early seasons, he was making $20,000 per episode. I mean, I'll take $20,000 per episode of this little show I got here. Sure, come on, bring it on. For Seinfeld, that was a little bit on the lower end. So he actually renegotiated for $1 million per episode. That's a 5,000% raise. Okay, it's an extreme example. I told you it was going to be extreme. But what does this show? This shows that negotiation pays off. Eventually, because of that negotiation, he earned over $200 million from the show syndication rights. Yeah, there is only one Jerry Seinfeld, but there's also only one you. I know, that's pretty cringy. Sorry about that. But don't sell yourself short because you do have unique experiences. Let's have a look at some salaries. So here I'm on Glassdoor. It's a website that supposedly has up-to-date salary information as well as employment opportunities, I guess. Look at this, 35 to 55,000, and right next to it, you have Senior Agile Software Developer Engineer, Backend API Remote, 117 to 171. A fully remote job with a lot more pay, even within itself, it has a huge range. A 117 to 171, that is a huge range. But imagine you live in Messina, New York, and you're looking for a local job. You're gonna have this kind of salary, 35,000 on the lower end. Don't go for it. Don't undervalue yourself. As a software developer, you should be making a lot more than that, no matter where you are in New York State. Now, I'm sensitive to the fact that there's a lot of different salaries out there all over the world, a lot of different employer-employee relationship types. Salaries like 35 to 55 might be really good in your area, but I'm talking about relative. And relative to what you could be making in United States right now, in Messina, New York, I don't know where Messina is, but I know that it's in New York State. And I think that this salary is undervaluing their employees. You should be making more than that. Here's another one, junior software developer, paying $30 an hour. It's gonna be pretty difficult to survive on $30 an hour for a software developer in the United States right now. Maybe if you're living with your parents and you're just starting out, maybe that's okay kind of as a stepping stone, but still it's pretty low. If it's your first job ever, and this is for a junior software developer, then maybe that's okay. But don't stay there too long. Don't get too comfortable or cozy, because they're not going to be paying you market rates for software developers. Give it a year at most. Don't give them more of your life. Enhance IT. It's probably a staffing company that wants to be the middleman, and they're probably charging maybe $100 an hour to have a software developer. Let's see what they do. I don't know exactly what this company does, but it does kind of resemble a middleman type of company, a staffing agency where they outsource the actual work for companies and they keep the profit. And they're not paying that well either. So even on Glassdoor, you can find a huge salary range. There's other websites like this. Find out what you're worth. Go for the top end, because why would you go for the low end? Go for the top end. Don't ever go for the low end. Don't sell yourself short. That's a mistake. Now, what's even better than looking at sites like this? Because can you really trust this 100%? I don't know. But in my opinion, it's better to actually talk to people. And I know that's not always easy for us introverted software developers to go out there and talk, but mingle with people, go to meetups, chat with people. Eventually you might get on a topic of salaries, see what people are making. Should this be a taboo subject? No, I don't think it should be. And I think the companies that are making this transparent are actually doing a good thing. It's helping us out as developers, helping us get the knowledge of what's possible out there, what we could be making. It's not keeping things secret. I did feel guilty for a while about not telling my coworker what we were making comparatively, but that went away after I thought about it for a little longer. And at that point in time, I did have more experience than he did, and I asked for it. I asked for the salary, and simply because I asked, I got it. So he could have asked for it. He could have gotten more, and that's what you should also do. The worst that could happen is they would say, "I'm sorry, we can't do that." And guess what? You're still in the same exact situation where you were when you got the offer that you got. So if you don't ask, you're never gonna know whether you can get more or not. If you do ask, then at least you know where you stand with that company. All right, that's it. That's all the rant for today. I'll see you in the next one.